So friends, welcome. What if Naruto was idiot genius Naruto x Sona Sitri x Akeno movie? So you're the one who stole my trap potion. Well, isn't this a surprise? You look just like an alternate reality version of me, Naruto the perverted potion prankster stated as he looked a smaller version of himself with a trap potion that he had invented for shits and giggles, as well as researching how traps can appear so feminine in all things. He was curious where his trap potion went, so he used his magic to rip open a portal to where the potion was, and here it was. How did you find me? Well, you are in the alternate universe that middle gave birth to, so I have easy access to it, all things considered. Did you think I would notice the new universe bubble experiencing vast stability and growth? Naruto the PPP asked as he looked at the silver-haired version of himself. He crossed his arms with a slight grin on his face, as if he said something obvious. There was a pause. Currently, they were standing on a street corner. That makes no sense, I can't be tracked. I didn't track you, I tracked a potion you were holding, so, mind explaining what your goal is with the potion, is it fun? PPP asked as he looked at Sku, who thought about it for a moment before he grabbed his notepad and wrote down the answer. You enjoy traps. I invented a trap potion and made a clone of myself have sex with a trap, so I do hold more affection for traps than most. Ah, you plan to turn somebody into a trap, so what kind of universe is in here? PPP asked as he looked around. A universe where your parents were able to have you without major genetic manipulation. Ah, mom and dad are alive here, PPP gained a slightly saddened look on his face, but also a very happy smile a moment later. Genetic manipulation, huh? Only minor genetic manipulation in this universe, so they were able to birth you and survive. Cool, so is this why my universe is currently frozen in time? PPP asked with a raised eyebrow. He had noticed that his universe was in a state of frozen time, with everyone but him unable to move or think. Since he was able to think, he just kept thinking and thinking, until he got the idea to try and find his trap potion while opening portals to other universes. He succeeded. Change your hair color. PPP put his hand through his hair and transformed it to the color black. Energy drinks for sale. Oh, you little devil, I love this idea. PPP instantly understood what Sku was doing when he saw three people running down the street. Kushina Uzumaki was in front, a beautiful red-haired woman who maintained an extremely youthful appearance. Despite being close to 40 years old at this point, she didn't even have a single gray hair on her head, and she had a fair skin with a slight peach color to it, the very slightest of it. She was wearing workout gear on. Leonardo Namikaze was in the back, slightly tired from a long run, and his looks aged slightly. He had a couple of wrinkles around his eyes, but otherwise he was extremely youthful for his age as well. He had worked up a sweat, a pretty heavy sweat for that matter. Finally, in the middle, was Naruto Uzumaki. Couldn't be more than 16 years old. For PPP it was like looking at himself back in time. He wasn't as well built yet, but he was certainly athletic for his age. Bright blonde hair the same color as his father's, and blue eyes the same color. He had his mother's face for sure, and his body build was more similar to a male version of her build than his father's build. Wow, I guess whisker marks are all the rage these days, Kushina stated as he jogged by. Lucky you Naruto. Kushina slowed down when she read the sign, and she walked up to it with a smile on her face. I'll take an energy drink. Kushina passed over some yen coins. Sku waved off her money and just gave her the drink. Strawberry please, Minato stated, and he was given an energy drink for free as well. You two kind of look like me, I guess I'll have one too, Naruto stated with a bright and cheerful grin on his face. He was given the trap potion instead of an energy drink. He drank it down like his parents with their drinks before they threw the bottles away and started to go back to jogging together. When they were out of sight, Sku looked at PPP and gave him a questioning look. It activates after a small delay of about 10 hours, and after 24 hours without the antidote, the effects become permanent. This is going to be hilarious, PPP stated as he showed off the antidote. He smashed it on the ground. No more antidote. You're damn right, this is too funny. If you ever need more potions, you come right to me, and I'll give you whatever you need. I wonder if the potion will have any effect on his mind. I hope it does. PPP laughed when he thought about the chaos that could happen. This was too funny for him. If you cold laugh at yourself, then what was the point in having fun? He is going to suffer humiliation. Fuck that me, has got his parents to support him. The way I see it, he needs to suffer a little to make up for the fact that he lived such a blessed life. I would gladly become a trap if it meant having my parents alive, PPP stated as he rubbed the back of his head with a small sigh. This is going to be, wait, so does that mean Asia is in this universe too? PPP asked with a raised eyebrow. Sku nodded his head. PPP opened a portal, and he walked through the portal. The second portal opened, and PPP came back out with a grin on his face. There, now that little issue is fixed all up, little devil bastard isn't going to be able to ruin her life. Also, do you think he'll become a pervert in this universe? PPP asked with a small curious glance. Or Naruto's, of course, were perverts deep down. But point, well, time is still frozen in my universe. I'm going to go shove my fingers up everyone's asses and see if they feel it when time turns back on. PPP opened a portal back to his own universe, leaving Scoo behind to look at him with a raised eyebrow. Quite confused. This was the first time an alternate Naruto that wasn't MWTT had ever tracked him down and followed him during frozen time, even more so through such a strange method. Now that he thought about it, he hadn't seen man with 10 tails in a long time. Scu's eyes widened for a moment when a stray thought entered his head. MWTT did it. He actually did it. Years and years of work to create the Philosopher's Stone, the ultimate form of alchemy, a level of alchemy that could be considered reaching into the divine to perform the ultimate transmutation. Minato had worked most of his life towards this goal, and nearly all of his notes on the subject were failures where he didn't even come close to creating. He was 9th rank alchemist. He was the highest rank that could be obtained in his craft. He was a professional among professionals, to the point that he knew that if anyone could achieve the completed version of the legend, then it would be him. He had created life before. What is the big deal about this stone again? Eternal youth, the ability to turn any metal into silver, gold, and platinum, and transform crystals into rare crystals. It's the path to infinite wealth and youth. It's also capable of being an amazing magical focus. The best magical focus, Minato explained once more to his impatient wife. It was nearly impossible for him to get her to understand. She was a potion maker. Where he was a 9th rank alchemist, she was a 9th rank potion crafter. She could make potions that almost reached into the territory of God. It was through the combined efforts of their crafts that allowed them to conceive their child Naruto. I just don't get why. There are potions that can grant youth, and if you live long enough, you'll get tons of money eventually. Kushina couldn't see the point behind it. She was currently going over the notes that she created for her newest potion, a potion that would allow, well, it would be best not talked about even in her own mind, after all. Potions that focus on necromancy aren't exactly well accepted, Kushina muttered to herself. She was reaching into forbidden territory. Was that Naruto screaming? Kushina asked as she blinked. She looked at Minato, who was slightly confused as well. Naruto's voice did have a slight feminine quality to it, but that scream was far more feminine sounding than they had ever heard their son sound like. It was hard to believe that sound could be their son, Minato. Kushina asked. They heard the sounds of stomping as somebody started to come down the stairs and towards them in a hurry, and they shared a glance. The door burst open. Jaws dropped. What did you two do to me in my sleep? I told you my body is off limits for experiments. Adorable, Kushina whispered as she looked at Minato, who had dropped his coffee on the floor in shock. Their son had physically changed. He was now visible shorter than before, and his body was visibly thinner and more feminine, his muscles now about as large as a woman's muscles. His pajamas didn't fit him properly, so he was holding his pants up with one of his hands, and his top was hanging off his shoulders. Kushina. Minato shouted at Kushina, you said you weren't going to make Naruto drink your potions in his sleep anymore. Minato snapped at Kushina instantly when he realized that Naruto was under the effects of something strange. You turned our son into a daughter. Minato pointed at Naruto as he stood up. Kushina looked stunned. I didn't do this, you did this, and you want to put the blame on me. You used transmutation alchemy to transform his body, obviously. You stayed up all night last night, it had to have been you. Kushina pointed the blame right back at Minato, the finger of blame pointed in his direction instead of at herself. I stopped experimenting with him once he hit puberty, since strong hormones and potions don't mix well. Kushina even explained her excuse for why it could not be her. There was a pause for Naruto as he looked between the two of them, and he looked down the front of his pants. I'm still a boy, actually. The trap, you turned our son into a trap. Kushina and Minato pushed the blame on each other. That was the only explanation that could possibly make sense. -5 hours later. Oh holy crap, this level of potion making isn't possible through modern potion skills, Kushina stated with her jaw dropped as she looked at the remains of the potion in Naruto's system. She was the highest rank of potion crafter, and this was beyond even her understanding of the subject. How much research went into this? No, more than that. This potion takes all factors of outside interference into account. This is divine rank potion crafting. Kushina leaned back in her chair with her eyes widened in shock. Minato was bleeding from his nose. This isn't potion making, this is alchemy, but no, this isn't possible. Naruto's blood, Minato couldn't make heads or tails of this. This was alchemy perfection. Each and every one of Naruto's blood cells were infused with particles from a completed Philosopher's Stone. Naruto's very bones were showing signs of being infused with completed stones as well. This was divine rank alchemy, and even beyond that, since somebody had not only managed to create a fucking Philosopher's Stone, but also mass-produce enough of them to be able to infuse Naruto with so many of them that his body was producing a liquid version of the stone in his blood cells. Naruto's blood was liquid perfection alchemy. As he tried to observe it and analyze it, his brain couldn't comprehend what he was trying to understand, it was beyond what his notes could ever compare to, and he could only marvel in awe at the sheer complexity of the alchemy before him. Alchemy, this isn't alchemy Minato, this is pure potion making, Kushina argued Minato. She started to get to work. So did Minato. The effects are becoming permanent, if we don't cure Naruto soon, he's going to stay like this for eternity, his body is producing eternal youth, look at this, look at this. Minato put a drop of Naruto's blood on some metal, and the second Naruto's blood touched the metal, it started to transform into gold. Kushina stared at that. No, it's potion making. His blood is infused with the most complicated potion you could ever imagine, it's a multi-layered, multifunctional potion, look at this. Kushina grabbed a puppy that she was saving for some experiments and she put a few drops of Naruto's blood into its mouth. Minato watched with her as the puppy got larger and it started to transform its body, its front half became more muscular, while its tail transformed into a snake head with bat wings growing from its body. This potion is so complex that any cure needs to take in order 1 million possible potion combinations in order to just begin to try and make a cure. We have to work together to make a potion to cure this. Kushina didn't know who did this to her son. This was some serious stuff though. Naruto's blood was eternal youth, monster creation, and metal transmutation. If they didn't cure their now trapped son, then all of the effort that they were going through to remain secret from magicians was going to go to waste. We need mom's help, we needed her help, but to combine potion making and alchemy together in order for you to give birth to him, oh lord, this isn't potion making or alchemy, this is both. Minato lost all hope instantly when he realized that they didn't have enough time. Not just that. They didn't have enough time to fix this before the effects became unfixable, and Naruto's body became immune to potions that could change him or alchemy to change him back. They did not have enough time to study what they needed to study, and the worst part of it was that even if they had the time, they didn't have the skills needed to do anything. Whoever did this was beyond their understanding. Even they, as the highest levels in their fields of study, couldn't even begin to comprehend the methods or the things they were looking at. Somebody had masterfully taken potions and alchemy, fused them together, and then proceeded to reach into the lands of the divine to create something that was so complex that it exceeded what the normal mind was capable of creating. This is the ultimate perversion of alchemy and potions, this perverted potion prank, Kushina whispered with horror. They failed as parents. I don't think I've ever seen something as divine or as perverse as this. Should we tell? We have to move. Naruto's friends, they are normal people, they won't understand Naruto's new appearance. We have to start over, we need to move to a new town, we need to keep Naruto a secret from the world of mages. Minato worked his mind into overdrive. He got out his maps of the many areas that they could move to. They had 3 options in Japan: Tokyo, Kyoto, and Kuo. Tokyo because the high population would allow them to remain hidden, Kuo because it was devil-owned territory which would allow them to easily blend in, and finally Kyoto because his adopted mother lived there and they would have a strong support network. There were downsides to each one thing. Tokyo had a lot of secret mage societies because of the high population, Kuo had devils in it, which was both a plus and a minus, and being around yokai constantly meant putting their guards up to make sure the secret didn't leak to the supernatural world, since some yokai could be spies for other factions. Kushina killed the monster puppy with a knife to the skull out of pure frustration that she could do nothing to help her son. How fucking dare somebody experiment on my son. Kushina stood up and raged. You do? Of course I do, it's a potion crafter's job to prepare experiment on their own children to make them even better than other children. My father and mother experiments on me growing up too, but to experiment on somebody else's child, that's some fucked up shit. Kushina was a potion maker through and through, and though they didn't have the same morals as other people, she had her own set of morals. This crossed the line. I'm going to give Naruto the bad news. Minato got ready to go and tell Naruto the horrible news. That there was nothing they could do to help him. So, Mom, what is your opinion on all of this? Isaka, a Kyuubi and the leader of the Kyoto Yokai, also Minato's adoptive mother who supplied some of the DNA that was used to allow Kushina to give birth, so while she was Minato's adoptive mother, she was Naruto's genetic grandmother through and through, though he had only a small amount of her DNA. I think, he's adorable, Yusaka was just happy. I know, right? Kushina had gone through many stages, but she had reached acceptance, she had accepted that this had happened, and her son was an adorable trap just waiting to be sprung on the world. He's so cute, he was always cute, but now he's girly cute, but all that aside, what is your serious opinion on this? Kushina asked as she shook her head, getting the cuteness aura out of her mind. Isaka became slightly serious. That's my grandson, I'll still love him no matter what, still, this could be a problem for him, he won't age, his body won't change, Hess has attained immortality and eternal youth, he will outlive all of his human friends, the world will abuse his blood when they learn the secrets in it, I don't know, Yasaka didn't have the answer to their questions or concerns. She could only say the kinds of problems that Naruto might have in the future. Minato shifted. He felt uncomfortable. We wanted to know if Naruto can stay here in Kyoto. No. No. Kushina asked with Minato as the two of them looked at Yasaka with shocked eyes, neither of them had expected that sort of answer. Yasaka nodded. I'm connected to the Lee line, and I'm always a target for attacks because of it, visits and short stays are one thing, but prolonged stays here mean higher chances of certain Yaokai realizing his secrets, I love him, but it's too much danger to have him here with me for extended periods of time, too much incentive for evil people to go for both of us. Yasaka had a semi-good reason behind her statement as well, she looked at Minato, who looked away as he realized that she was telling the truth. Yasaka had assassins after her all the time, spies within the Yaokai who wanted her out of the way, and all it would take was one slip-up, and Naruto would be in far too much danger. He was still in the process of learning to use magic for combat, and neither of them were oriented for combat magic. Then, are of Kuo or Tokyo, which do you think would be better? Why don't you ask Naruto? Yasaka asked as she looked at the silent Naruto. I don't care, just do what you want, it doesn't matter to me, Naruto didn't care at all. His magic was all out of whack from his transformation, his body and spirit were out of sync, so his magic was much harder to control. His magical reserves were still big, but they were being crammed into a smaller body, and the control he had built up over his training had been shot to hell. I can barely even wind magic, the most I can do is healing, I don't care where we go, Naruto grumbled. Yasaka reached out and pat the top of his head. You'll become a great mage, I know you will, don't let this get you down, but you do need to be careful, we don't know how much effect this transformation has on your mind, if you feel anything is different, please, let somebody know, Minato, Kushina, I would like to go on a walk with Naruto alone, can you keep Kunu company for me? Yasaka asked as she mentioned her youngest daughter, she wanted to speak with her grandson alone, and she stood up to go on a walk with him. When Naruto stood up, she looked up to look him in the eye, before she realized he was shorter than her now, and that his face came up to her chest once more, she looked down, and she reached out her hand to hold his, but he just put his hands in his pockets, the pockets of his pants that didn't fit him properly anymore. Let's go on a walk and talk alone. Sure. Minus 15 minutes later. I don't want to talk about it. It's pretty embarrassing to talk about changes in your body, be it puberty or turning into a female-looking male, have you talked at all with your parents? Yasaka asked, her hand gently on Naruto's shoulder as she walked side by side with him, he didn't want to hold her hand, and he didn't want his hands to leave his pockets at all. Naruto was about to say something, before he shut his mouth, forget about it. Yasaka frowned. You can always talk to me, you're my one and only grandson, whatever it is you can't tell your parents, you can tell me about it, I won't make fun of you like Kushina will, and I won't be a worward like Minato, Yasaka promised Naruto. He still didn't say what he had been about to say, his lips remained tightly shut. Forget about it, I don't want, Naruto reached up and touched his throat, hearing the softer sound of his voice, even my voice is cuter, Naruto whispered to himself, Yasaka just rubbed his shoulder and comforted him. As much as Minato and Kushina freaked out, none of them could possibly understand what Naruto was going through at the moment, they were all adults, but none of them had ever had this sort of change happen to them before. Kushina grew from a cute girl into a beautiful woman, and Minato went from a good-looking boy to a handsome man, Naruto went from a cute boy to a handsome man. But now he looked like a cute girl, this wasn't like the puberty all of them went through where they had awkward changes to them that made them feel unnatural. Naruto's change was actually unnatural to him. None of them knew the kind of stress he was under and what kind of chaos was going on inside of his mind as he adjusted to physical and mental changes. Maybe, you would feel more comfortable talking with somebody going through something similar. You're young, so maybe you can use the interwebs to talk with somebody, I hear it's easier to talk freely online than in person. Naruto wanted to call her out on not knowing a thing about the internet, but he didn't have the strength to do it, I just don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk to you, her mom, her dad, or anything about what's happening. Naruto turned around and started to walk away from Yasaka, back to the house. Yasaka stood still and took a deep breath. If you ever do want to talk, please talk with somebody, you don't need to keep it bottled up inside, it's not healthy, Yasaka just pleaded that one thing with Naruto, you have nothing to be ashamed of, because we will always love you, Yasaka continued as she turned around and looked at him standing still at the door to the house. Yeah, okay, yeah. You really are adorable. I've always loved your smiling face more than your frowning face. To me, you've always been my adorable grandchild. If I'm being honest, I think you look super cute. I love this new look just as much as the old look." Yusaka saw that he was being a little more open now that he wasn't looking at her. "Yeah, me too." I'm so confused. Naruto didn't speak a word to Yusaka about what he was thinking though. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't even know how to explain his feelings, let alone what his own feelings were on the subject. Before he could talk with anyone, he needed to figure himself out first. He needed to know why he felt so conflicted, and he needed more information. He needed answers to his questions. It was a devil-controlled school, which meant that a mage like him would be pretty easily accepted into that school. It was the safest school to hide a mage in plain sight, when in places like Tokyo, where there were mages that could recognize what was special about him, he was in much more danger, not to mention, since Naruto was a mage. This was his chance to find a good devil to form a pact with for mutual benefit. What kind of joke is this? It's not a joke, it's your uniform, wear it, Kushina stated as she held up the girl's uniform to Naruto. She had a bright smile on her face. "My son is a super pretty trap, and there is no bigger prank in this world than a trap wearing girl clothes," Kushina stated with an excited smile. She loved pranks. Half of her potions were crafted with the intention of being used for pranks. She loved pranks just that much. She was sure that she would have eventually turned her son into a trap at some point for a prank, but somebody beat her to it, and they made the effect permanent instead of temporary like she would have made it. "I should not have let you buy the uniform." Minato looked at the uniform. He was a serious man, and though he would have liked to see Naruto in the uniform, he would rather Naruto take school seriously and not treat it like some sort of prank. A mage needed to make a good impression on devils in order to form a strong bond with one and later on make a good deal with them. This affected Naruto's future as a mage, and as his parents they needed to treat this seriously. "Oh, don't pretend you don't want to see this too. Imagine Naruto. Think about how many guys whose sexuality you will destroy. You'll confuse them so hard, I bet some of them will jerk it with tears of blood streaming down their faces." Kushina had a demented laugh. She loved perverts, they had the best reactions to her pranks. One of her favorite things to do was find the most perverted person in a city and prank the hell out of them for an entire month straight. She had a collection of blood that she took from perverts that she tormented to the point of exhaustion. Once she completely broke their ability to even care about her pranks. She collected their blood as it was in the perfect state for her to use in her experiments. Virgin pervert blood, filled with such high levels of hormones and frustration. "I'm not a potion crafter, mom, I don't care about tormenting perverts. I just want to study magic, become an archmage, and then take on an apprentice to pass my skills onto." Naruto had different goals than his mother. Tormenting people wasn't something he enjoyed. Even if he did love pranks like his mother, he had no need to torment others to the breaking point. Kushina Uzumaki. Chaotic evil Minato Namikaze. Lawful good Naruto Uzumaki. Chaotic good. If you were to place them on a chart, then that would be where they lined up. His mother was a good person most of the time, to her family, but she was still a mage at heart. She had almost no morals when it came to things related to magic, and his father balanced her out by being her opposite. He studied the science of magic, and for that he had aligned himself with proper research and study. Using the scientific method as it was applied to magic. "Oh come on, you like pranks too." Kushina wrapped an arm around her son and leaned in to whisper into his ear, "If you do this for me, I'll buy you a book about 4th rank healing magic." Kushina bribed her son. She wasn't against such low methods. "Kushina, we are going to have to. Deal." Naruto stated as he shook his mother's hand, "But only if you throw in some 3rd rank holy magic books." Naruto shook her hand quickly and she nodded her head with a knowing look. She only needed to appeal to Naruto's chaotic side. After getting dressed. "Squee, yes, I love this. You're so adorable and pretty and cute and amazing. I knew it, you might have your father's hair and eye color, but that pretty face is all mine." Kushina ran up to her son and wrapped her arms around him. She rubbed her face up against the top of his head and just allowed her hands to roam all over his uniform, fixing each and every wrinkle in it, so make sure it was completely flawless. "And I knew these panties were the perfect fit for you, nice ass on you." Kushina flipped his skirt and looked at his butt. She had a wide grin on her face. "My son is too pretty and he is way too easy to convince to do stuff. He's just as stupid as his mother is." Minato rubbed the bridge of his nose. Just offer Naruto some magic and he was down. He didn't even think through what he was doing half of the time when magic was involved, which was why he worried about his son even before this transformation. The chaotic side he got from his mother flowed through him with fierce determination. "This is so humiliating." Naruto broke free of his mother's grasp with burning red cheeks. "I'm going to school now, so you better have those books for me when I get back here." Naruto stated as he pointed a finger at his mother, raising his voice. She just smiled and waved at him as he was leaving. Then he was gone. Pause. "What is your real reason for this?" Minato asked Kushina with a raised eyebrow. She became dead serious. I want to check to see what this trap alchemy potion does to his mental state. Naruto would never wear those clothes on his own, so I can't measure his reaction to them. I need to test how this transformation has affected his mind, but I need to push him into doing stuff that he would have never done before he was transformed. Kushina became serious, and Minato nodded his head. They needed to test their son for mental changes, but with how prideful he could be, it would take serious effort and acting on their part to get him to act as natural as they could. They needed to see if Naruto started to show other trap behaviors. And he's so adorable, it would just be a total waste not to dress him up in tons of nice clothes. Yusaka even agrees with me, she's going to mail us any cute clothes that she finds as well. Kushina's seriousness was gone as her happy smile appeared once more. They are not worried this will have negative effects on him. Of course I'm worried, but he's immortal now. Kushina was serious again. Naruto was immortal and forever young, eventually he was going to have to abandon humanity, and she needed to push him into that as quickly as possible to avoid him breaking. She needed him to push his own mental state as much as she could, that way once he realized that humanity had nothing to offer him, he could abandon it and join up with the forces that he could stand side by side with. People that could stay with him for a long time, much longer than any human he could form affection for. That way, even if he outlived them, he could spend so much time with them he could become satisfied by their time together. Only vampires and dragons shared Naruto's lifespan now. Only those who were already unaffected by the passing of time could truly stand by his side, and that meant that she needed to push Naruto's mental state further and further into abandoning humanity. But Naruto. I've been kidnapped, Naruto thought as his face showed irritation, his mouth covered. Naruto looked at the inside of the van and saw a lot of adult men. They just drove by, grabbed him and pulled him into the back of a van and started to drive off down the road. This should save me some time getting to school, Naruto thought to himself as he looked at his surroundings. 3 men and 1 man driving. Naruto saw another girl was struggling as well and he mentally sighed to himself. Outside of the van, they were speeding down the road at a normal speed. As the girl inside struggled with keeping her clothes on, Naruto activated some basic magic. A small spike of rock came out of the room and stabbed into the bottom of the van. The van flipped. There were screams as Naruto grabbed the girl and held onto her and used magic to keep them safely in place. The 3 men in the back of the van didn't stand a chance though and went flying into the front window, slamming into the glass and shattering it, going flying out of the van before the van itself crushed them to death as it rolled across the street. The driver was knocked out cold. But he was wearing his seatbelt so he stayed firmly inside of the van. Even when the van stopped, Naruto saw that the girl had fainted, but she had her phone on her. He used her finger to unlock it. Hello, I would like to report a kidnapping and sexual assault. Yes, please track the cell phone, Naruto stated before he put the phone down on the girl's belly. He left the beat-up van and dusted himself off. Not a drop of blood on him. Naruto started to continue his walk to school, but he stopped by the driver's seat of the car and looked at some broken glass on the ground. Naruto opened the driver's side door before he reached up and started to use magic. Naruto put the man under a deep sleep spell. That way, he wouldn't wake up and run away before the cops arrived. Naruto didn't kill those other men on purpose, he would rather pay for their crimes, but the fact remains he didn't care if his magic killed them. They died because they didn't wear their seatbelts and tried to kidnap and rape people. There we go, now he can't escape. Better get away. Naruto saw people walking on the side of the street were now starting to gather. He walked away with crossed arms, not caring about the attention that was getting drawn to the scene. They are so focused with the flattened corpses that they won't pay me too much mind. Naruto looked at the crushed men and he frowned. A shame. They died instantly. He would have liked it much more if their suffering were to be prolonged, but sadly he didn't know much about necromancy, so he couldn't bring their souls back and force them to work for him to extend their punishment. Naruto then walked to school like it was a normal day. Naruto tripped. Now Naruto slammed his face into the pavement, stupid shorter legs and stupid changing body. Naruto got back up and rubbed his sore forehead with a growl. Nobody had been looking at him, but if they had been, they would have seen his skirt flipped up. Naruto kicked the rock that he tripped over. Ow. Naruto hit another student in the same uniform as him, and he quickly pretended to be innocent of any crime as he walked by them, their confusion mounting. Man, that girl is smoking hot, nice ass on her, the things I would do to her, that petite waist and that tomboy haircut. Damn, she's a foreigner and she's wearing our uniform, she's a new student, she doesn't know I'm hated by the school yet, do I have a chance? Before class even started, the misunderstanding had formed. Wow, this school is just as boring as any other school. Naruto sighed as he pretended to listen to the teacher and he pretended to read the assigned school texts. He didn't care about math, or gym, Japanese, or even English. He ignored the praise he got from the people in the classroom for how cute the new girl was. He wasn't interested in creating a job for himself in normal society. Magic. That was what he cared about, he wanted to become the highest rank of mage that he could. I've got no real talent for fire magic because I don't understand the calculations for how fire itself works and how to reinvent it with magic, Naruto thought as he looked at a science book. Magic for humans work different than other species. Others use the power of imagination plus magic, but humans didn't do that normally. Naruto needed to do some study on the subject of magic before he could use said element. Earth magic was the easiest of all elemental magics to use by the property that the mental calculations were the most simple of all of them. I want magic to exert force on the ground and move it. All you needed to do was use magic to apply force to the ground in such a way that it moved freely to create more earth. You needed to know how that worked as well and use magic to simulate him. Naruto could not yet create more earth, but he could manipulate existing earth as it was, nor was he an alchemist that could change the state of earth, but he didn't need for that to be the case either. He sucked at fire most of all. Fire needs oxygen, fuel and heat, okay, that seems simple, Naruto thought as he looked up fire, it seems simple, but he didn't know which part of that formula magic needed to manipulate, or do I need to make it do more than one thing? Naruto scratched the side of his head for a moment. Damn, that bitch is fine. I know, I saw her when I walked to school this morning. Measurements, hard to read, so hard to read, almost like she isn't a girl at all, my scouter glasses say, 70, 60, 73, damn, nice ass. Wonder who they are talking about, Naruto thought to himself as he traced a magic circle with his finger on the desk, not actually creating one, but going over the design in his head. Somebody had the ability to guess a girl's 3 sizes, and going by those sizes he heard the guy said, it was a girl with a petite figure. What you think, A cup or AA cup, those are some super small titties, you think she goes natural, or wears a bra at all? A cup, almost nothing, but not quite AA cup. Nice, big all titties are the bomb, but what fits in the hand can be a nice change of pace, all boobs are amazing after all. Hey, class just ended, you want to join me for lunch? Naruto felt a tap on his shoulder and he turned his head and looked at a girl leaning over to talk to him. Naruto looked at her for a second before he saw a perverted glint to her eyes. No thanks, Naruto stated as he stood up and walked out of the classroom. Naruto turned around and saw that he was face to face with 3 guys. Hey girl, you want to? No, Naruto deadpanned as he walked past them. Naruto left the room and he quickly walked his way up to the rooftop of the school without talking to a single person. He heard footsteps following behind him the entire way, but they weren't a group of footsteps. Naruto didn't care either way. I just lost all of the friends I had at my old school. Who knows when mom and dad will force us to move to another school, Naruto thought to himself as he got to the actual rooftop and made his way to the center of it. He sat down and opened his lunch. Next to his lunch, he put his books and opened them up the current page he was on. Sup. So, I am sure that I can turn magic into fuel for fire, but how do I turn it into heat? Naruto thought as he turned the page, out of the corner of his eye, he did appraise her looks, and she was eating her lunch while looking at him with a large grin, brown hair with braids going over her shoulders, glasses in front of her sharp golden brown eyes, and a petite figure overall. With medium-sized breasts, slim waist, and lavender panties, Naruto noticed that before he went back to what he was studying. Eesh. That sounded perverted, Naruto saw a glint to her eye as she looked around his waist. You know, you're a confusing red, my sensor isn't ever off, but when you introduced yourself to the class, I thought wow, why is my sensor going off for a girl? Then I realized the truth, the girl stated as she leaned forward, Yaur. Oh right, I guess I don't look like a boy anymore, Naruto realized what she was getting at. A super cute trap. You're the real deal alright. I'm Kiryu, and I want to be your friend. I like to be friends with all the cute girls in class, and in my eyes, a trap might as well be a cute girl. Aika extended her hand to Naruto. Naruto looked at her hand for a moment before he sighed and grabbed it, shaking it. Naruto. So Naruto, I bet you're curious how I knew you were a boy, right? Aika stated, clearly wanting to brag about something. She saw Naruto didn't pay any attention to her, though as he ate and read, and she pouted at him, you're ignoring me. Aika scooted closer to him, not minding that she flipped her own skirt several times as she did so. She paid not attention to the way that her panties were revealed at all. Just go away eventually. Anyway, my scouter can let me see guys' dick sizes. Ooh, interesting, Naruto stated in a dull tone, not really paying her too much attention. He heard of that guy of the 3 perverts checking out some girl's 3 measurements, and he called it his scouter, so he assumed that this girl had the female version of that or whatever, here to make fun of me for it or something. Naruto asked with the slightest, of glares in her direction. She shrugged her shoulders as she raised her hands up, shaking her head with a laugh. As if, I think your size is perfect the way it is, you see, I'm a lover of dicks, cocks, penises, whatever you wish to call them, I appreciate them in all sizes, from the micros to the macros, I see all of them as useful in their own ways, Aika exclaimed loudly and proudly, that is why you were so weird to me, Aika admitted to Naruto as she gained a genuinely confused look on her face. For a second, she couldn't judge his size, the numbers in her head changed for Naruto, as if her scouter was wrong, and then it corrected itself, that had never happened before to her, and now she had to check multiple times to make sure that her numbers weren't off. Thankfully, her scouter was being consistent again. Well, thanks I guess, Naruto still wasn't paying her too much attention. You don't believe me? Not really. At first, my scouter told me 19.5 centimeters, which is pretty big all things considered, now though, I'm reading at an 8.5 centimeters. Oh, she is telling the truth, that is how big I was before my transformation, and I guess that is how big I am now, I've been too scared to measure since it shrank, Naruto thought to himself with a small glare at Aika, she had some really personal information at her fingertips, but he was sure that she wasn't going to spread it around or anything, is there a point to bringing this up? Naruto asked her. She sighed. Man, I was hoping to get some reaction, I'm serious though, I really do want to be friends with you, I just wanted to let you know that I'm not going to reveal your secret to anyone, so you can be honest with me, so that we can have an open friendship, Aika pouted at him, AI, and you don't, you're blushing. No, I'm not. No, you totally are. I embraced you, but you don't want to admit it. It's okay, I won't tell anyone about your size, if y'all be my friend, Aika gave him an offer, she grinned at him, before she burst out laughing, I'm just kidding, if you want to be my friend or not, I won't tell anyone, I know how you guys are about your size, Aika gave an honest chuckle. Of course I'm embarrassed, I'm a guy, even if I like these clothes, Naruto's cheeks turned burning red when he realized what he had thought for a second, what the fuck? Naruto had never thought about that before his transformation, no, I'm not being weird, my mom just said these clothes were nice, and it made me feel nice is all, it's not like I like these clothes, Naruto sighed to himself, and he noticed Aika staring at him. Please be my friend. It's not like I'm going to be in this town long, once a devil in the school realizes I'm age, I know my parents will freak out and move out of town, I shouldn't make any friends, Naruto thought as he looked towards Aika. She had her skirt lifted with her own hands. See, now we can both be embarrassed. Now we can be friends. You are not embarrassed though, Naruto deadpanned at her, and she grabbed the front of her panties, and she pulled them up and wedged them, her pussy still wasn't visible, but the outline of it could be more clearly seen, she had a grin on her face still, and she wiggled her hips back and forth, but her cheeks were a bit more pink, fine, we're friends. Yes. The cute trap is my friend now. Don't worry cutie, just trust big sis Aika to help you with whatever you need Akuo, if you ever need relationship advice or a girl's opinion, just let me know and I'm there, Aika scooted closer to Naruto and she wrapped an arm around his shoulders, so, you like science, you any good? Aika asked Naruto with a tilt of her head. I hate it and no. Fire what are you having trouble understanding? Aika asked Naruto a little more seriously and he looked at her for a second, he tilted his head in confusion before he pushed the book towards her. I know what heat is, but how does heat and fire go together when it comes to fuel? I understand what heat is, but I don't understand what brings about heat, the words in this book are confusing. Aika listened to him and hummed. Okay, well, heat is the release of energy from molecules and atoms as they move faster. As molecules move faster, they release energy known as heat that can be transferred. Aika noticed that she was losing Naruto, because his face now visibly showed that he was confused. She thought about it for a moment, she grabbed his arm, before she rubbed her hand against his forearm as fast as she could. My hand is molecules, Aika stated to him as she quickly rubbed his arm as fast as she could. Naruto felt his skin heating up. Naruto felt it with his body, and Aika grinned. That is how heat works, when tiny particles move, they make heat, fire is just when heat reacts with something to a degree that it produces gas, fire keeps burning, as long as there is still fuel, and heat gas can keep being released into oxygen, do you get it? Aika asked Naruto, and she noticed that Naruto had his own books, almost none of them belonged to the school, and she noticed that all of them were related to science in some way. Naruto frowned. Can you explain that again? Fast movement produces heat, when things are heated up, they produce gas, when that gas touches oxygen, it becomes fire, fire is just gas, fire is a hot fart that fuel releases. Aika thought of the dumbest way that she could explain something, and she spoke it. Naruto thought about it. That afternoon. The hot fart, Naruto mumbled as he raised his hand. Calculations went into his mind, and he created a magical circle in front of his body, he thought of his magic, the particles of his magic, moving very fast and rubbing together, then he imagined his magic as the fuel as well for the heated magic particles, he frowned and kept his concentration up, as the magical circle started to change form, and began to produce heat. The magical circle transformed into a yellow fireball. His magic was the fuel and the heat, while the magical circle allowed for the calculations to make contact with oxygen and burst into a magical flame, flames fueled by his magic and created by his concentration on the calculations and formulas needed to produce those flames. Naruto threw the fireball at a boulder. Boom. Naruto put a crater in the front of the boulder and cracks formed over the rest of the boulder. Well, hot damn. The next day. Aika-chan. How are you doing today? Naruto greeted Aika with a wide smile on his face. He wrapped his arms around her in a hug and she seemed taken aback by his sudden change in attitude towards her. Whoa, nice. Aika wasn't upset by the attention at all. Let's walk to class together. Okay. Since you called my Aika-chan, can I call you the same thing? You can call me whatever you want, we're friends aren't we? Naruto responded to her with a sparkle in his eyes. He liked her a lot after she helped him understand what he had been trying for a long time. You helped me a lot yesterday, so what can I do to make it up to you? Naruto asked her with a wide smile. She waved him off. Oh, nothing at all, Naru-chan, anything for a cutie, helping you study isn't a big deal at all for a girl like me. I know, you're very smart. Let's get some ramen after school, if you know any good places, I'm all ears, it's my treat, Naruto told her with his eyes still sparkling. Aika loved the attention she was getting. No, the kendo club. No way, come join us for the swim club. Naruto ignored the dozen of girls that were asking him to join their different clubs, apparently being viewed as a cute girl was enough to make you popular in this school. Naruto didn't respond to any of the requests since he didn't care about any of the subjects that were being proposed to him. I'm a squishy mage, sports aren't my thing when I should be focusing on mastering new spells. Naruto turned the page in his poke on pyrokinetics. He was going to have to ask Aika to help him study this some more because he wasn't understanding how fireworks functioned the way they did. He wanted to be able to focus an explosion the same way a firework worked. And for that he needed to study the science behind it. We've got plenty of snacks at the cooking club, we even make tons of cookies on the regular. Don't care, Naruto thought, but he wiped the drool from his mouth. He wasn't going to give in to his new sweet tooth, no matter how tempting sweet sounded to him. Naruto sensed a somewhat strong magical power walk up to him, but he ignored it. How about joining the occult research club then? It's Ria's Gremory, one of the beauties of the school. Gremory, Akka, Gemory, Gamoi, Gemon or Gemyum depending on the grimoire you read, the camel-riding demon, taking the form of a beautiful female who are revealing hidden treasures and secrets of answering questions about the past, present and future, and the ability to gain love from women, Naruto thought as he glanced up at this one, the girl was tall, red-haired, blue eyes. And a figure most girls would kill for, she had a kind smile on her face, and she wore seductive panties that were revealed by the slightest of breezes from an open window. She was beautiful. Every mage knew about the 72 pillar demons of Kyoto, and the loving nature of the Gremory was well known as well, though some abilities of the Gremory were lost to time, the ability of love was still well known among mages. Those who were connected to the Gremory possessed a lot of love in them, or they were well known for having gotten love from many others. That's why these girls are so insanely attracted to Ria's, her aura makes women fall in love with her. Naruto looked back down at his book. Aika was busy with her own club activities, so he was just going to study the book on his own until she could get back and help him out. Well, what do you say? I would love to have a nice chat with you. Well, sure, I have some time. Naruto stood up and looked at her right in the boobs. His cheeks turned red for a moment when he realized how short he was now. Before, he was even taller than Ria's was, but now his height had been severely reduced. Great, well follow me. So Naruto followed her out of the school building and they walked together towards the older school building that Naruto didn't know existed. I'm unable to join your peerage. That's okay, but you're a mage, it's only fitting that I make a good first impression on you and get a good relationship with you if possible. Our people have worked together for a long time now, Ria's explained her reasoning. She had no intentions at all of asking Naruto to join her peerage, not when she was scouting for people that caught her interest. So, what brings a mage to Kyoto? Ria's questioned, since usually mages lived with their families and rarely ventured into regular human society. Mages were socially inept people who more often than not stayed closed up and only bothered talking to themselves or supernatural creatures. A random mage moving to Kyoto and joining her school was interesting news to say the least. Nothing that concerns anyone but me, so don't worry about it. I see, you're here for your magical studies. I've heard that mages are that way about magic, so you're looking for a devil who can teach you about the secrets of magic. Ria's made an assumption about his reason. Naruto looked around the old school building, and when they got to the main room, he noticed that the entire room was decorated like a believer of the occult, but not as a devil. She was putting on a show for any human that happened to look at the room, but the magical circles in the room were 100% real. It was a very funny way to hide the truth in plain sight to be sure. Why is there a shower in here? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. I enjoy thinking in the shower, so oftentimes I will take a shower when I have a lot of thinking to do. Riaz was open with that information. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the answer, but said nothing otherwise. So, what branch of magic do you study? Potions, alchemy, healing, combat spells, or maybe you study magic item creation? Riaz questioned Naruto as she sat down. It was just her and him in the room at the moment, if you didn't count the beautiful girl who walked in moments after the two of them. She was a good height, not nearly as tall as Riaz, but a traditional Japanese kind of beauty. It'll get the tea started. Thank you Akeno, so, would you like to join the occult research club? I'm sure we can have help to each other in the future, you're a mage about our age, and if we click, I think making a contract will benefit all of us in the future. Riaz spoke gently as was her nature, and her offer sounded tempting. You can't help me much, Naruto was honest with her. Oh? I want to study every branch of magical spell, and you won't be able to help me with holy or healing spells. I'm sure you can help with demonic spells or elemental spells, but I have no interest in joining. But, Naruto stopped talking as he looked across the room. He saw a book sitting on a desk, and his mouth started to visibly water as he gazed at it with longing eyes. Is that? Naruto got up and he rushed across the room to get a closer look at the book. Oh, it's just one of my brother's old grimoires. I don't read it, but he likes to send them to me to make this room look more like an occult research club room and not a secret hideout for devils. Riaz had checked over the book, but to a devil like her grimoires were just common books. They mass-produced them and sold them in nearly every store. There were some truly rare magic books. But none of those were in the room currently. You can take it with. Oh thank you Riaz. Naruto rushed across the room, jumped over the couch, and wrapped his arms around her in a hug. This is awesome, it's a grimoire about ice elemental magic. I'm not great at ice magic, but this will help me get better so much faster. This is awesome. Naruto's personality did such a 180 that Riaz needed a moment to process it. Akeno just giggled into her hand as she got the teapot to a boil, the tea almost gone for her, Riaz, and their guest. It's not a problem at all. Riaz put a smile on her lips when she watched him open the book and get absorbed into it with nearly all of his attention going to the book. So, about joining the club? Riaz questioned Naruto. Huh? Naruto wasn't paying attention to a word that she said. The club? Oh, are you still asking about that? Didn't I already said I would join? Naruto questioned her as if there had ever been a question on the subject. Of course a mage would join a club with devils, that only makes sense after all. We need to form a good relationship after all. You never know when we will need to form a contract, Naruto repeated her own reasons. Even his answer did a complete 180. It was like her forgot about how just minutes ago he was going to completely reject her in favor of ignoring her and her peerage, in favor of just getting help from Ika. That's quite the passion for a young lady. Yeah, whatever you said peerage member girl. Oh, this is some good stuff. I can't even begin to understand some of it, but that's like half of the fun. What are you staring at? Naruto asked Riaz when he saw her giving him a smile. Oh, nothing, Riaz smiled, and Naruto went back to going over the book. Naruto ignored everything that had to do with anything that wasn't the book he was reading. His eyes were dead focused and unblinking. Akeno, you're wrong, Hess not a young lady, Hess a boy, his student ID says so, Riaz pointed out. Yeah, something happened, blah blah blah, and now I'm a trap. Mom refused to buy me the boy's uniform, so I'm stuck dressing like a girl at school. Something happened? Riaz questioned. That was not a proper explanation. Well, it doesn't matter how it happened, but now I'm stuck like this. Thinking about the past is lame. I would rather think about the future and work towards it. Naruto got up and he started to walk out of the room with the grimoire in his hands. Thanks, see you later, Naruto told them simply as he left. Riaz laughed into her hand. Akeno, your opinion, Akeno? Riaz asked before she noticed that Akeno was licking her lips. I can't wait until next year when Gasper and Kaneko get to join the school. Akeno had plans, good plans, in the future. She licked her lips as she thought of the things she could do to have fun when she got those three together. She saw a lot of amusement in her future. Naruto spent 5 weeks as a member of the occult research club and he realized that it wasn't honestly that bad. Most of the time, he just spent time alone in a room with Riaz while Akeno and Yudo Kiba, the male member, were out completing their pacts with humans. Just like today. So, what are your Golden Week plans? Riaz asked Naruto out of nowhere. The same thing I do every day, plot to take over the world, just kidding, practice magic. I'm having some trouble with grasping 3rd rank water magic. Naruto wanted to get each of his magical elements up to the 3rd rank, but he was having trouble with that. Wine 4th rank fire 3rd rank earth 3rd rank water 2nd rank lightning 1st rank. The basic elemental 5, once you master these it was considered very easy to branch off into other elemental magics. Wind was his best element that he had a natural affinity for, while lightning was his absolute worst affinity. At the moment, he was putting work into water magic, now that he had gotten his earth magic to 3rd rank. Then he was going to have some serious work cut out for him to get his lightning magic to 3rd rank. That all? I'm going to Kyoto to spend time with family. My grandma wanted to see me, so I spent Golden Week with her and my aunt, though my aunt is younger than me. Naruto deadpanned when he thought about that little curse on his life. Having an aunt younger than him made his life a little troublesome. To use magic in battle, you needed to be at least 3rd rank to be considered able to apply magic properly in a combat setting. Oh, I was going to ask if you wanted to spend time in hell with us, come with me to my family home, but that sounds much more fun. I wish I could come with you, but I don't want to intrude on your family time. Ria spoke genuinely. She thought that she could introduce her new friend to the rest of her family in peerage, but if he had plans then that would be it. I've always wanted to go to Kyoto, Ria sighed. Then come. What was that? Ria's asked Naruto with both of her eyebrows raised. Then come along, she won't mind, she's got plenty of space at her place, and she enjoys entertaining guests. Naruto didn't have a problem inviting Rias along with him. Rias gave him a slightly sad look. She shook her head. Demons need to get a special pass to enter holy grounds, even those from Japan affect us. Thanks for the offer though, what are those? Rias asked as Naruto tossed a few slips of paper towards her. She looked at them, and she saw that they were passes for her, Yudo, and Akeno to go to Kyoto with special permissions. Her jaw dropped when she saw Naruto had several more, and she realized that she would be able to go. I'm going to go call my parents and tell them I'm staying in Japan. Rias got up, super excited, and rushed out of the room. Naruto was left alone. Technically, mom wanted me to invite you guys so she got me those passes. I didn't care if you all came or not, Naruto thought as he pointed his hand at a glass of water. He needed to create a whirlpool in the glass, but without using magic to just swirl the water around, he needed to use magical calculations in order to force the water itself to recreate a whirlpool. Nothing. He was born at the top of Mount Kurama, and he always went there on the last day of Golden Week with Yusaka, so that she could perform a situation to keep whatever yokai powers he might show suppressed. Since he was born with a connection to the Lee line, he needed to have his possible powers sealed off, so that he didn't start to absorb power at a rate his body would have trouble with. Since Kuramayama was considered one of the best places with a connection to the Lee line, it was the best place to perform the ritual to keep his yokai blood sealed off. Rias rushed back into the room. I can come along, they said, but I've got to bring them gifts. This is going to be fun, isn't it? Rias forced the excitement off of her face, and she showed a more calm facade to Naruto. She seemed to realize that she was acting in an embarrassing way. She cleared her throat and sat down next to Naruto, a small smile on her face. So how did you get these passes? My grandmother is Yusaka, the one of the leaders of the yokai and ruler over Kyoto's yokai. Oh, Rias didn't know how to respond to that. She was the younger sister of one of the Satans, but Naruto was also related directly to a leader of one of the factions of the world. He was a direct descendant of a yokai, though from the way he felt to her, it would seem that he didn't inherit any of the powers of the species he came from. That explains the whisker marks. Rias realized that was why he got those, and why his face was so fox-like. He was literally part fox-beard. Get your stuff ready after school, then you can come to my house, this is my address, we'll be waiting. Later. Whoa, Yudo stated as he looked at Naruto's abnormal house. The fact it looked a lot like a traditional Japanese mansion was one thing, but the way that it stood between two normal houses just caused it to stick out even more. The magical barrier around the house that was safeguarded by several alchemist stones made it so that normal people who saw the house would not pay any attention to it. Rias had some sparkles in her eyes when she saw it, since she had never gotten to be inside of one of them before. They were all in their casual clothes, and she looked at Akeno to see the girl seemed quite comfortable with a form-fitting kimono. I know, I wasn't aware he was wealthy. Boom. We've got to help. Rias ran into action when part of the mansion exploded, flat out exploded with smoke coming from the area. They rushed inside of the barrier and pulled out their wings to fly over the house. They noticed a red-haired woman covered in ashes sitting nearby the explosion, which had ripped a large chunk out of the house. Well, this is unfortunate. Guess I don't need to pay the guy anymore though. Note to self, never test these potions on myself in the future. Kushina stopped up as a scorched chunk of human flesh landed on the ground behind her. Minato came rushing out of the house. Is everything okay? Is Takeru out? Oh, Kushina. Where is Takeru? Boom, Kushina explained the entire situation. I was slightly off, but hey, he knew what he was signing up for. Apparently, he lied about what his blood type was, and the potion reacted badly. Kushina sighed and put her hand to her forehead. She noticed Rias, Akeno, and Yudo land on the ground. Naruto's clubmates are here, you better go clean yourself up, sorry kids, things can get a little crazy here, oh, I must look a mess. Minato was covered in grease and chemicals since he rushed outside when he heard the explosion. He had been working on his own stuff and had completely lost track of time. Mnemonic is Minato, Naruto's father. He bowed politely to them as Kushina skipped into the house to get herself cleaned up. Is that normal? Kyoto was just shocked as he noticed half of a burned human head in a tree and other body parts were everywhere. Ah, sadly, my lady doesn't exactly abide by morals when she works, sometimes things get messy, but she makes sure that her assistants know what they are getting into, but this is more common than you would expect, can I offer you anything to drink? Minato, ever the gracious host, spoke as he beckoned for them to enter the house. They entered the house through the hole in the wall. Bubbling potions everywhere, since they entered through Kushina's studio, they noticed that the damage to the house was fixing itself as the destroyed portions of the house started to gather and repair themselves. This house is enchanted to always fix itself, Kushina can get, Kushina, we don't experiment on Naruto's friends. Minato chased Kushina off when she came into the living room after them with a bunch of potions. They are just drinks. The FFFFT, Akeno hid a giggle in the sleeve of her kimono, realizing that Naruto just might be the normal one in the family after all, she wasn't the only one, but Yuuto looked at the drinks that Minato was offering them with a concerned glance. It's okay, it is just some wine, non-alcoholic of course, I would never serve booze to a minor. Naruto is upstairs getting ready, it'll just take your luggage to the car, once everything is set, he'll drive you kids to Kyoto and drop you off, Minato stated, since he always spent Golden Week without Naruto, it was a week for Naruto to bond with his grandmother. And for him and his wife to spend a week of quality time. Kushina peeked into the room. Hey kids, want to try out a potion? Ooh. Mom, don't bother them with your futanari potion, what the fuck is a futanari? Doesn't matter I guess, but don't offer them weird potions. Naruto took the potions from Kushina and put them on the table. You look good, Yuuto stated to Naruto. He was wearing a traditional kimono much like Akeno, and it really brought out his looks. His compliment was just meant to be a genuine compliment, but it came off as a little sexual it would seem when Naruto sent him an odd look. Thanks. Naruto looked towards Rias and Akeno, all packed up, so we're leaving as soon as dad gets back. Naruto felt his mother's hand on the back of his head and she gave him a quick hug before she walked over towards Rias and grabbed her. Don't worry, just a quick talk, one redhead to another. In the other room. Listen and listen good girlie, Kushina started off with that, and Rias knew she better listen to what the woman had to say. She was taller than Kushina, but the woman's aura made Rias feel like Kushina was bigger than her. Make sure Naruto has fun and really get him to bond with you. I want him to have a happy life with his friends since he has a long future ahead of him. Hey, you're not going to tell me to stay away from him. Oh hell no, you get as close to him as you want. I want him to be happy and healthy, and that means getting good friends. You seem like a good person, so let's cut a deal. You get him Sun to open his heart up, and you can use my potions for whatever you want, we got a deal. Kushina offered her hand to Rias with a sickeningly sweet smile. Like what kind of potions? Whatever fits your needs, I'm sure I can whip something up for you. Let's you notice some guy flirting with my boy, and you want that guy to suffer a little, maybe suffer from some eternal erectile dysfunction, or maybe you notice that you can't sleep at night and you need something to push things along, or maybe you find yourself needing some help studying for a test. But can't quite remember the answers. Well, I've got you covered girl, Kushina whispered as she looked around the room, just waiting for Minato to pop out and tell her off for corrupting Naruto's friends. She sighed when she noticed that Minato didn't pop up and she relaxed her guard a little. By the way, give this to Yusaka when you see her, you do that. And she'll let you visit Kyoto whenever you want, consider it a down payment. Kushina pushed a small potion into Ria's cleavage, hiding the potion away. Rias didn't stop her from giving her the potion, and she just gave a quick nod of her head to show that she knew what Kushina had done. Say, I wanted to make a guy, leave me alone. Get me some of his hair, and you get me some pictures Naruto in a bikini, and you've got it, Kushina promised Rias. Rias and Kushina shook hands. Somebody made a deal with the devil. Who was the devil and this deal was left up to debate. Wow, such beautiful forests, Rias was already enjoying herself. The second that Minato dropped them off, he told them that they would need to walk to the place they were staying. He gave Rias and Yuuto kimonos to change into, and after that he drove off to enjoy some private time with his wife. They walked through Torii gates and saw several of the sights on the way to the place they were staying. Rias was loving it. All of this is so beautiful, and you get to come here whenever you want. Rias asked Naruto with a twinkle in her eye. My granny lives here, so yes, Naruto answered with a bored tone. He was less a fan of Kyoto than most, simply because of the fact that he spent so much time at the place. Once we drop of our stuff, you can explore all you like. Naruto had stuff that he had to do, helping his family with Golden Week, and tourism was among those things. He didn't hate helping. But the fact that he couldn't use his entire break to practice magic was a bit of a bother to him. I need to help with a ritual among yokai tourists with my aunt, so you can have fun on your own, Naruto clarified, so that they didn't try and interrupt him. Yokai celebrate Golden Week? Yudo asked a really good question. Do you demons celebrate Christmas? Naruto asked them with a raised eyebrow. That is a good point. Akeno looked at Rias with a raised eyebrow. She always thought it was a bit weird that they celebrated Christmas when it was the celebration of the birth of their greatest enemy, the being that was the exact opposite of everything that were in all ways. Why do we celebrate Christmas? Rias laughed a little. It's fun, and we're part of the Christian religion. It's our duty to celebrate the holidays of our faith, though we don't celebrate them the same way as our heavenly counterparts. Still, I didn't expect yokai to celebrate human holidays in general, not to mention being tourists for it. Rias laughed a little. It was a good-natured laugh. Then they followed as Naruto turned and walked off of the stairs. When they followed him and failed to cross the next torii gate, a Japanese mansion materialized in front of them, the barrier they crossed making the mansion visible to their eyes, and they could see the leader of yokai standing there and waiting for them. Naruto. Kunu, Naruto had his aunt wrap her arms around him in a hug, and he turned bright red when he realized they were close to the same size. He was now only slightly bigger than she was, and not by enough for him to feel comfortable with. She used to come up to his waist, but now they were almost staring eye to eye. So humiliating. Welcome, I am Naruto's grandmother, Yusaka. I hope you will enjoy your stay with us during this holiday. Yusaka bowed to them gracefully. She noticed Rias approach her, with a small potion in her hand as she did so. A delivery from Uzumaki-san. Thank you darling, I've been waiting for this for a while now. Yusaka was visibly pleased when she was given the potion. She hid it in her sleeve before she walked towards the house. Now, we've only got a few rooms available at the moment. Young man, you'll stay with Naruto in his room. Young ladies will be together in the guest room, Yusaka spoke, if you want to drop your things off. It'll have them brought to your rooms while you go and have fun, except for you Naruto, can you help get things set up? Yusaka asked with a smile. Sure. At night. Such a fun day so far, and look at all of these yokai, they aren't even in human forms. Rias was taking in the sights. She had so much she still wanted to see, but she was too curious about the yokai event to be able to hold herself. She saw several oni, sprites, nekomata, and she could see some kitsune that weren't kyubi. She saw many shapes and forms of yokai. Some of which she couldn't even begin to explain. So many nekomata, Akeno stated with surprise. There were so many catgirls and boys in the area, it would seem that they were one of the more numerous of the species. A booming drum sounded out. It's starting. Oh, wow, Yudo spoke with his eyes slowly widening when they looked up at the source of the sound. On stage were both Naruto and Kunu, neither of them wearing anything more than the smallest of kimono tops and fundashi. They were barely covered up, but each of them were holding flaming sticks that they used to beat the drum with. Both of them were standing on either side of the drum and beating away at it in perfect sync now that they had gotten started. When the flaming sticks made contact with the drum, thunder went off and sparks shot straight up into the sky. I remember when Yusaka did this for us. An elderly blob of a yokai standing nearby them said as he spoke to the smaller blobs of the same species next to him. A minute passed, and the drum beating continued with the yokai getting more riled up as the song played. They were getting into it far more than the devils in the audience, who were impressed, but not affected the same way to be sure. The drum song showed no sign of stopping even as 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. It was hypnotic to the yokai. Like a powerful drug, they stayed focused on what was happening as they gave it rapt attention. They went wild, but no matter how wild they started to party, you could see that they were giving their attention to the two on the stage. 35 minutes later and Naruto was starting to sweat a lot, with Kunu beginning to show signs of exhaustion on the stage. They kept the show going though, and the crowd had gotten so wild in comparison to the tameness that was at the start of the show. The hypnotic effect of the music seemed to have reached the peak. I call it tourism. At the start of each night of Golden Week, this song is played for different yokai, so they can let loose the steam they have kept hidden deep down. They lose themselves, dancing, drinking, fighting, having fun in their true forms. Yusaka put her hand on Akeno's shoulder when yokai started to push up against them as they danced. The youngest children of the current leader is assigned to do this. This tradition actually started thanks to Minato studying yokai biology. Those sparks, they give off a light that arouses our base desires. That drum also releases a perfect sound for yokai ears, Yusaka explained with a wide smile. It was a recent tradition. Still, a tradition all the same at this point. Why aren't you affected then? Yudo asked a real question. They are my child and grandchild. I'm not going to be affected by this. The stage is surrounded by a layer of salt and charms to prevent any yokai from going on stage. Well, looks like it's almost over for tonight. Yusaka laughed to herself. She watched as Kunu ran out of magic power first, and though he wasn't out of magic, Naruto exhausted himself and collapsed next to Kunu quickly. It'll get them once things calm down. Yusaka noticed that the drumstick stopped sparkling, showing that the song was over now. The yokai started to collapse on the ground one after another as their own magical energies got absorbed into the drum from the song, and with their magical energies was their stress. As each one collapsed, a face of visible happiness and relaxation appeared. None of them seemed to care at all that they were collapsing face first into the dirt. Where does it all go? Riaz asked. That drum absorbs all of the magical energy and stress and keeps it safely locked away inside of it. Then, after it spends a year purifying that magic, striking it will release small amounts of that magic into the air as sparks. Minato designed it himself. My clever boy. Yusaka gave a look of visible pride to the drum, though there is always some extra magic energy left over. And it gets stored for the next year. Yusaka knew of at least 20 years worth of magic were being stored inside of the drum. Magic from several thousands of yokai from across Japan, but it wasn't a big deal. No yokai wanted to take hold of the drum, with their stress gone for the year. Nobody usually had the thought to steal the drum, not to mention the drum never left the stage, and no yokai other than a Kyuubi could go onto the stage. So, every night. Can Naruto have fun with us during the day? I don't see why not, as long as he does his shrine duties first. He and Kunu used to always get into so much trouble when they finished their duties, good times, but now look at them, so grown up. Yusaka gushed over her family. She might be a strict mother, but she was also a grandmother. In the end, her grandmother's side won out quite a bit. She was going to pamper her family during this holiday when they finished their duties. After she had fun with her favorite little potion from Kushina. Ever the voice of reason, Yudo Kiba was, he could see that Riaz wanted to do everything and see everything that Kyoto had to offer, and that meant that she was going to use Golden Week to its fullest. She went to every festival stall that she could find, and what was more was she went to try all of the local vendors and tried their most popular dishes. She bought vegetables at every store. Though she was sending those to her parents. The grown girl has to eat, and this stuff is so good that I just can't help it. Riaz had taken to spending tons of money so that she could wear a different kimono every day so far. She was lucky she was very rich, though he had bought himself a replica sword to study. He could create his own swords, but to do that he needed to design the swords. He was European, and even though he trained under a Japanese swordmaster, the swords he made tended to be Western. He would like to study Eastern swords so that he could make some of them himself, though he was sure that he would still mostly use his Western swords. Yeah, I'll grow alright, Akeno said. Riaz pinched her cheek. It'll work it off later, anyway. Naruto's grandmother said that he was, Riaz stated as she got in line, but she stopped talking when she noticed that it was the stall with the longest line. Guess this is the stall. 100 million yen cash prize, defeat the Golden King, only 10,000 yen to attempt. This seems pretty important. Akeno saw that a lot of excited people were in line for this one, a lot of older men and women, but almost nobody in their age group seemed to care enough about this one. Seems we've got some time. Akeno noticed the line moved forward one pace, with a person walking away from the front of the line with upset facial features. Guess he lost. Riaz smiled. I don't need the money, but this seems like it will be fun. It'll give it a try as well. -2 hours later. Welcome, and, oh, it's just you guys, go away, Naruto stated as he gestured for them to step out of line to allow the next customers to approach and challenge him. Akeno sat down since she was next in line, and she looked at the board that was sitting on the table between Naruto and them. Naruto was wearing a shrine priest outfit, but he had a golden crown on his head. Golden King. So, we're playing shogi, then? I've never actually played before, but I hear it's like Japanese chess. Akeno saw Naruto sigh. Phew, these are your 9 pawns, they can only move 1 space forward. These are your honorable horses, the knights, they move 2 forward and 1 to the side, and can jump other pieces. Your 2 lances can move forward however many spaces, and this is your 1 flying chariot, the rook, it can move any amount of orthogonal spaces, but no jumps. Your bishop can do the same, but diagonally. The gold generals move 1 space in 6 directions, while the silver generals do the same thing, but with 5 directions instead. Finally, the king moves the same as Western King. Now pay up, Naruto gestured to the donation box. Kunu put a new one on the table, and she started to take the old one that was completely stuffed with bills away. She had a sneaky smile on her face, since this was the day that they made more money than any other day of Golden Week. Golden King stall day they called it. Akeno stood no chance. I guess him up. Yudo sat down in front of Naruto as the pieces were moved back to where they belonged. Naruto didn't change the bored look on his face either. This is so boring, it's just basic combat strategy, as if that were anything interesting. Naruto didn't even bother paying much attention to the game, for some reason. Well, he was an idiot when it came to things like math, science, and history. When it came to things like battle strategy and physics, he was very good at understanding and mastering them. I wonder why that is. Naruto just mused to himself. Kyoto didn't last much longer than Akeno, though he accepted his loss with a slight frown, since he didn't quite understand the game. He didn't like losing, but he didn't expect to win either. Rias was next. This seems far more difficult than chess at the very least. Well, let's have a fun game. Rias wanted to enjoy this stall as well. The longer the game goes on, the more difficult it becomes as well. I'm sure that Sona would love this game, Rias mused out loud, unlike Naruto's inner monologues. Naruto just sighed, because he could be practicing fun things like magic, but instead he was stuck sitting down at a stall and facing people and shogi all day. He made a lot of money for his family, since this stall was purely a scheme to make money, but it was so boring. Rias didn't do that bad. In the end though, she still suffered a loss that left her slightly surprised. She had played the game a few times before, but she had won most of those games she had played. Amazing, I couldn't understand his strategy at all. He was utterly unpredictable. Sometimes when I thought I understood what he was going to do next, he did something completely different. Once he started to capture and drop my pieces onto his side, I was slowly overwhelmed before I realized that I was running out of safe moves. Moves that he made earlier for no reason ended up putting him into strong positions later. Rias was walking away from the stall as the next challenger made an attempt at Naruto. She focused on trying to trap his king, then he started to place down her captured lances, and she lost her ability to move her king into a safe place. She didn't move her king around nearly as much, while Naruto moved his king into a position where she thought she could take it, then he would capture the pieces that he lured into a trap. He created plans. Then he created plans that were his real plans, that he revealed once she had thought she figured out what his fake plans were. Much later. So tired, Naruto's words started to slur together as he rubbed his eyes. He was sure that he had beaten at least enough people to more than equal the amount of time that he wasted at the stall. Kunu had carried off and emptied a ton of donation boxes. Think you got another game in you? Naruto's eyes kept trying to close, and it was hard to think, but he could squeeze another game out. He kept his eyes on the game board, since if he lost focus on it, then he risked falling asleep. Naruto got his phone out and looked at the time, and saw that it was nearly 1 at night. Whatever. Last customer. Kunu called out to the line of people that were back for rematches. Nobody complained about it, since it was so late now and Naruto was visibly tired. The match went on for 5 minutes. Kunu raised an eyebrow when the match kept going on for that long, but she didn't pay it too much mind. She saw a young man wearing a Japanese school uniform, but it was mixed with ancient Chinese clothing. He was almost as tall as Naruto had been, 180 centimeters, before his body had changed. The match continued for 10 more minutes, and Kunu stopped working in favor of looking downright surprised at a match taking that long. You were very intelligent, quite the strategist. Whatever, Naruto's eyes were flickering, but he kept playing the game. Naruto made a surprising move that had his opponent laugh a little. His laugh wasn't a happy one though, it was frustrated at the unexpected move. That was a good move. Gush Moff. Yes, your battle strategy is at a genius level. This is a very difficult match. I have nothing but praise. Just shut up and lose already, Naruto thought as he only looked at the board. Naruto's brain was fuzzy, and he could barely plan his moves. This wasn't any fun for him, despite the way it sounded like his opponent was enjoying himself. Yes, you're an excellent example of human superiority. I've heard rumors about the Golden King and the prize money that could be gained from beating you. You wouldn't happen to be the reincarnation of Sun Tzu with these strategies, I wouldn't doubt it. The match took 2 hours. It was a back and forth that took an entire 2 hours, but in the end Naruto won. The second Naruto did claim victory though, he collapsed forward into a deep sleep. His opponent stood up, while Yusaka herself approached Naruto. She picked him up before she started to walk away with her grandson in her arms. Naruto, you've been skipping out on sleep to practice, hope you enjoy your sleep tonight. The young man that lost smiled. I see, his name is Naruto, well then, Naruto, I'll see you again. The next morning. Well, this is. Sorry, he sleepwalks when he is really tired. Kunu apologized for Naruto, who had snuck into Ria's futon during the night. Kunu had slightly red cheeks when she noticed that Ria's was buck naked in the bed and that Naruto was gripping onto her tightly. I'll let go if you do this. Kunu reached down and tickled Naruto's whisker marks. He let go of Ria's and relaxed completely, giving Ria's the chance to leave the futon. Well, it's no big deal to me. He was quite warm. Ria's didn't mind being hugged when she was naked too much, not when it was a genuine accident like this seemed to be. Naruto had gotten home later than anyone else, having been forced to deal with apparently one final long match before he could escape from the stall. has he always been good at shogi? Riaz asked with a smile. Always, his brain is unpredictable, things that make sense to normal people are weird for him, and things that are normal for him can't be easily understood. Hess got the perfect brain for coming up with crazy good battle strategy that no sane person would be able to counter easily, and in the last 13 years of holding that stall, Hess yet to lose. Riaz had to do some math. Hess been an expert battle strategist since he was 3 years old. Riaz was a little confused at how odd that sounded. Kushina is unpredictable, and Minato is an expert at mentally multitasking. Naruto has both of those traits, so he makes multiple unpredictable plans. Don't worry about waking him up, by the way, Hess too tired, the dummy hasn't been sleeping much, because apparently Hess been practicing magic while everyone was asleep, he spends way too much time training. Kunu was glad to see Riaz finish getting dressed. Okay then, well I'm off to explore Kyoto again today. Riaz was having the time of her life still. She would ask Naruto to teach her a thing or two about shogi later. After she lectured him about not taking care of his own sleep. Naruto was extremely bored. It's just the same thing every year, it never changes, Naruto thought as he looked at the different yokai in human forms, running the different stalls. He was walking with Kunu, the two of them pretty much spent the entire festival together. He wore a white kitsune mask over his face, while she wore a matching mask on the side of her head, this traditional attire. Naruto never minded the clothing he wore before. Traditional fundashi, he wore them even before his body transformation, but now that his body was so much more feminine people were giving him more stares, he could feel them staring at his ass, but he did his best not to think about it. He never noticed just how revealing the clothes he wore every year were when he wasn't wearing shrine priest clothes. Sexually stimulating females is what the men of our blood do, and your clothes should reflect your hidden seductive power. Nom. Kunu, Naruto shouted as he pulled his cotton candy back when she tried to take a bite out of it and ended up just getting a nibble. Oh come on dear nephew, enjoy this while you can, you won't feel like doing anything after tomorrow night when mother strengthens the seal. Kunu enjoyed spending time with her nephew, yes, her dear little nephew that came from her big brother. She loved teasing him, spending time with him, and being the best aunt that she could be. Maybe you want to spend time with those girls instead of your aunt, Kunu nudged Naruto with what she thought to be a teasing grin. Naruto was barely fazed, rolled his eyes, and proceeded to scoff at the idea. Those girls were extremely sexy, no doubt, but he didn't hold much attraction to them at the moment other than physical. He was attracted to their bodies, but he didn't know either of them well enough to be attracted to much else. Hello kids, care to try and catch a goldfish? Hey Naruto, come over here and try this. For some reason, I'm not able to catch any fish at all. Riaz waved to him, she looked up him and down, that looks good on you, very kitsune-like. Riaz had been having the vacation of her life. Akeno and Yudo both got fish, but she was having trouble with it. Akeno was used to doing this, but she was a horrible teacher. Yudo was extremely skilled at these kinds of things, but at the same time he just told her that half of the fun was in figuring out the trick herself. She tended to agree with him. Damn sexy, Yudo gulped and averted his gaze away from Naruto, his cheeks turning slightly red. Naruto just walked right by them. No thanks. Kunu grinned when she got a certain vibe from Naruto, and her grin turned into a proud smile when she realized that Naruto was going to blow off some steam, their favorite yearly activity to do during the festival. Magic practice. Later. Target located at your 2, take a 67-degree shot with 2 degrees of variable with a wide curve, Kunu stated as she peeked out of their hiding place. There were fireworks going off at the moment, and instead of watching them like normal people, Naruto was using this as his chance to practice some magic. Magic target practice. Shooting tiny magic bullets and hitting special targets. Ooh, fuck me, harder. Tons of couples loved to leave the festival and come to this spot, and they would then proceed to hook up in the woods. Naruto enjoyed using this as his chance to aim for the people, shooting a magic bullet directly into the places the sun doesn't shine, a low-power shot that won't hurt too much, but would certainly break the mood. Think he will come or scream? Naruto asked as he lined up his shot, a man with his pants down while holding his girlfriend, fucking her against a tree. Kunu narrowed her eyes. If you time this right, I bet you can get him to do both. There. Naruto shot a small magic bullet at a low power and fast speed, with the bullet spinning and curving at the perfect angle. Yeah. Our timing was off, he just screamed, he didn't nut. Kunu saw the man pulling out, and there was no cum leak, his girlfriend was dropped to the ground, and like that the mood between the couple was completely ruined. Kunu pushed her hand against Naruto, and she pointed at another couple, get her this time, curve it between his legs. Kunu saw the wide smile appearing on Naruto's face. He formed 2 magic bullets and made a peace sign. Thought you won better, Shess grabbing his ass, Naruto shot both bullets, and they soared close to the ground before they shot straight up. What the fuck? Bitch. Did you just? You bastard, don't just randomly fuck my ass. Hehehe, good shot. Kunu watched as Naruto shot the guy in the crotch once and then used a second shot to change his angle so that his next thrust would go into the girl's ass. The guy thought that he got slapped in the dick while the girl gave a shout of surprise. Mood ruined. He loved this yearly magic practice with live targets, stopping these young couples from making horrible mistakes in public places in such a funny way was just the best, better that he ruin their mood than let the local cop come by and get them for a crime. Magic bullets were the most basic of basics when it came to magic, but they helped to increase your ability to aim with other types of magic. It helped that the target he was aiming at was very small and usually in motion, thus his target practice was very effective. Oh, we've got a guy with a huge one with a girl sucking it, your plan, Captain? Kunu asked with her cheeks bright red, the only one she had seen that big before was her brother's when he joined her for a dip in the hot springs. Yeah. Naruto took aim and fired. The arcade jerk, I said don't choke me like that. I'm not going to do this if y'all are going to be rough. Babe, come back. Naruto and Kunu shared a high five when they saw Naruto's expert shot get the girl and push her head so much that she ended up choking on the dick in her mouth. So, have you found any girls that interest you in school? Kunu asked in a low tone, she just pointed her finger at another couple, and Naruto took aim. Oh, you got a double, I think he came from it. Kunu giggled when she saw the man blush bright red in shame. Naruto made the man come early from the surprise of it. Anyway, you're super pretty now. I'm sure any girl would want to be with you, and some guys, Kunu teased Naruto. It didn't work. Not interested, I want a strong woman who can kick my ass, just because my body changed doesn't mean I will settle for anything less than that. A lot of those girls at school are submissive, not only that, but they can't do magic. You always did like those Nekomata triplets who used to live around here, they could crush people with their thighs. Hell yeah I did, too bad they moved away. I'm a squishy mage, I'm at my best in a fight when I can charge up a powerful spell. I need somebody that can guard my back, so I need a strong person to stand beside me. Naruto had legit, battle-related, reasons for his choices, then again, Naruto frowned. Lately, his dreams had been bothering him a little. Some of his more sexy dreams were about things that he had never dreamed about before, types of play that had never been in his fantasies before. And again. What about you? Naruto changed the subject and he caused several more screams as the number of couples hiding out, fucking, started to rapidly decrease with each shot he took. His aim was getting better with each year that he practiced. I don't really care too much about that kind of stuff, but my dear little nephew, you're older than me, you should really be thinking about getting a nice girlfriend now while you can enjoy it. Yeah, and be made fun of for my size and how much I look like a girl. Screw that, I'm not a masoch. Naruto paused for a second and frowned. I'm not a masochist, he stated as he shook his head firmly. He didn't care what kind of dreams he was having. What is wrong with being a masochist? What people do with their lover is their business, and I certainly will love you all the same, even if you like being spanked or tied up. Why do you know about this stuff? Why do you know more about this stuff than I do? Naruto asked her as he took his eyes off of his target, but the sound of a scream alerted him to the fact that he still hit his target. Kunu puffed her puny chest out loudly, as if she had achieved something amazing. I studied so I can be a cool aunt to you, one that you can always come to whenever you need advice that you can't ask your parents. I've been reading tons of magazines since you're at that pervy age now. Goddamn, okay, change of subject. Don't want to talk about sex with my aunt, even less when you're younger than me, and a virgin, Naruto added for good measure. He was a virgin too, but at the very least it was just because he was more focused on magic than sex. PFFFFFFT, that dude, oh, yikes, he was not expecting her to be packing a strap on. Naruto stated as he winced in sympathy. Kunu turned bright red, but she did the math and still calculated the shot for Naruto. Since it was a pretty difficult shot to make, Naruto needed to make adjustments to how he aimed since he would be more aiming at the girl this time. He likes it. So this is where you were. Rias called out to Naruto when she saw his and Kuna's butt sticking out from a bush. A lot of couples, the few remaining at least, become very self-conscious when they saw a pretty girl like Rias randomly show up and call out so loudly. Naruto and Kunu clicked their teeth, stood up, and started to walk away. Way to ruin practice. Great, now all the targets are leaving. Well, whatever, it's getting late, you've got to get your rest, so. Yeah, growing boy, yeah, take better care of my body, I've heard it all before. Naruto brushed Rias off as he walked by her. Rias raised an eyebrow in confusion for a second before she turned around and looked at what Naruto was doing. Her eyebrows shot straight up. Some of the couples didn't mind the audience and kept going, regardless of the fact that a pretty girl was watching them. Rias on the other hand just went slightly pink in the face while making a hasty retreat from the area. Middle of the night. Ha. Naruto destroyed a target log with a fireball, panting and sweating as he did so. He wasn't going to let anyone tell him to stop practicing. He needed to improve his fire magic, and that meant practicing his power output to gain more control. He needed to learn to fire a shot properly, take good aim, and hit with enough power to only burn the spot on the log that he hit at the moment. The fireballs he shot blew up and set the entire logs on fire, or just destroyed them. His arm was shaking. Damn it, my magical pathways are getting stressed, I can feel them burning up. I'll switch arms until the burning stops. Naruto switched arms and kept practicing. I'm going to get stronger. I need to get the magic power that I lost back. A little burning isn't going to stop me. I'm wasting too much power. Naruto shot another shot. Naruto was using too much magic when he cast his spell, and instead of all of that magic going to fuel the fireball, 80% of the magic in the attack was being wasted and released. He didn't have good enough control over fire magic to be able to do it without wasting any magic. 20% of the magic he used to cast the spell was going into the spell. But the other 80% of it was just scattering in the area around him uselessly. Naruto collapsed onto a knee, panting hard. Fuck, damn it, why is this so hard, why, fuck, no, I refuse to cry about it. Naruto felt his eyes water, but he wiped them and stood back up. He got back into a practice stance, and he forced a grin onto his face. Come on Naruto, you've got this, you can do this, it doesn't matter if you suck at this magic, if you keep practicing, you'll do it. Naruto fired another 6 shots one after another. His magical reserves were lower, and his control over his magical reserves were shot. His body was smaller and weaker, and he had less control over how the magic flowed. He didn't understand this body as well as his real body, even after being in it for months. His body just felt so different than it used to, and controlling magic was harder to do than before because of it. He didn't know how to fix this though. Naruto switched out of fire and to earth. Okay, strong movements, make your magic control the earth and use it as an extension of my body. Naruto stomped his feet down firmly and formed the magical circles in front of him. With sharp movements, he shifted the ground in front of him up and down. Rain. Naruto felt it begin to rain and the dirt began to quickly become mud. Naruto's movements became more sluggish as he put more effort into training, and he quickly started to use up his magic reserves as he wasted more and more magic. I'm almost out, no, I can't let running out stop me, I'm going to keep going, I'm going. Naruto took a few woozy steps backwards. Foo fuck, I guess I better rest a minute. Naruto sat down on the ground in the rain. He closed his eyes to let the cool rain refresh him. Naruto fell asleep. Kill ourselves. Yep, we should kill ourselves. Kushina, you've gone mad. I knew you were insane, but I didn't realize it had progressed to this point so soon. Minato deadpanned, since Kushina was suggesting out of nowhere that they take their own lives, she wasn't even explaining to him the reason why they should do it, and he had to get ready to go and pick up the teens from Kyoto. This was the final day of their school vacation. And Naruto had gotten his seal reapplied by Yasaka. No problems to be found. Now hear me out. Minato sat down and gestured for her to continue, but it was clear that he had a sarcastic smile on his face, as if nothing that she said could actually get him to kill himself. We're human, and we have finite lives, but if we kill ourselves we can change that. You're not making any more sense, Minato reminded her. Naruto. I'm trying to say that I'm trying to suggest a way for us to stay with Naruto forever, because he's immortal, we will die, but one day he will forget about us, maybe, we will just become a memory for him, and in 10,000 years, we might not even be that. Kushina exclaimed as she raised both of her hands into the air in annoyance. Minato didn't understand why her idea was perfect. Of course, she had yet to explain what her plan was to him yet either, all she did was tell him that they needed to kill themselves in order to be with Naruto forever, but the very idea of being with somebody by killing yourself was crazy. Going to hate myself, but how does that work? Simple, we will both drink this potion I've made, it will transfer our souls into our blood, and we will bleed ourselves out, then with your dying breaths, you use your alchemy to fuse the blood into these precious stones, Kushina stated as she dropped a ruby and a sapphire onto the ground in front of herself. I call the ruby by the way, it matches my hair. Kushina was going to put her soul into something that made things easier for Naruto to tell which stone she was in. Kushina drank the potion in front of him, and she put a copy of the potion on the table next to him. She grinned to herself, and she even showed a ceremonial dagger. She pointed around the room and gestured to the magical circle that was embedded in the hardwood floor. It was her family magic seal, so the magic she performed while on top of it was enhanced. What about turning Naruto back to normal? We can't do that if we're dead. Screw back to normal, whoever made that potion was way beyond our skills, we can't fix this, and it can't be fixed by magical ways. I can't stand the idea of my son one day forgetting about us, I would rather kill myself to put my soul into a gem than even have the chance of being forgotten, Kushina proclaimed with a proud puff out of her chest. She truly believed that she had a good idea, and that was what was worrying for Minato, the fact that Kushina was actually willing to just kill herself without hesitating if it meant that they could forever be a part of their son's life. How does this even let us be with him? If our souls are in the gems, then Naruto can talk with us and carry us with him. Once our souls wake up inside of the gems, we will always be able to help him when he asks. Well, Kushina tossed the ruby onto the ground, and she didn't hesitate to slit her own throat. Her blood splattered across the stone, with the magic circle on the floor brightly glowing. Kushina just grinned a crazy grin as she collapsed onto the ground. Shit. Minato rushed to her side and placed his hands on her neck to stop the bleeding, and he healed her with his alchemy. The second she was healed, she stabbed herself with the dagger several times in vital organs. Join me in death, Minato, we can be with Naruto forever. Kushina's soul left her body with the blood, her blood glowing slightly with the power of her soul. Minato needed both hands to heal her, so he couldn't stop her from stabbing herself even if he wanted to. Her grin told Minato all that he needed to know. Kushina had not been giving Minato the option of killing themselves. She had made a decision, and that decision was that they were going to be by Naruto's side forever. He could either join her, or he could leave her to die in his arms. Damn it, Kushina. Minato could see the benefit behind what she was doing, but the horrible part was that they would only get a single chance to try this. Kushina had to be 100% sure that whatever she planned was going to work, or they would just be killing themselves for nothing. Tears stained his cheeks as he was faced with the worst possible issue to ever plague him. Is this what you've been working on since this mess started, a way to kill ourselves? Minato shouted in her face. Kushina just reached up with her free hand and stroked his cheek. Let's be with Naruto forever, together. I'm not afraid of dying, I'm afraid of Naruto losing us forever, for our son, do this for our son. Damn it. Minato placed his hand on the magic circle and used his alchemy to fuse Kushina's blood into the ruby, trapping her soul inside of it. He set the magic circle on auto, so that as she bled out, the stone would continue to absorb her blood. You're not leaving me any choice. I know I'm not, otherwise you would never agree. You're damn right I won't agree to this is madness. Minato grabbed the second potion, and he chugged it down. Kushina put the dagger next to him, and she reached out to grab his hand. She smiled gently at him. She and Naruto had the same grin. Madness, this is magic. In Kyoto. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Naruto held a hand over his belly. He hated having the seal reapplied each year, it left him feeling weak for a week, and he was so exhausted after it was applied, he just wanted to crawl into his bed and not come out until he felt better. Rias offered him a snack to help calm his stomach, since they were just waiting for Minato to come and pick them up. This was so much fun, you've got to help me get better at shogi. Rias was happy when Naruto accepted her snack. No. I've got this pretty nice grimoire on. Of course it'll help you. Naruto changed his tune real fast. He didn't even care what the magic was about. Learning magic was worth the price of teaching her to play a game. Naruto's phone went off, and he looked to see that he got a text. We love you, Naruto, but I can't pick you up from Kyoto. Looks like we're taking the train back to Kuo. Sounds fun, Akeno stated, and she was the first one to start to walk. They had a lot to carry and a long distance to walk to the train. Need a hand? Yudo offered Akeno. Such a gentleman as always. This was a lot of fun. Next break I'm going to go home to spend time with my parents. You're more than welcome to come with me then if you want. Ria spoke with Naruto. She wanted to return the favor. The fun that she had was going to stick with her for a long time. She gave an awkward grin when she noticed that Naruto was barely paying any attention to her. Naruto. Rias asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow. Are you okay? Not really, I'm exhausted from the seal, both emotionally and physically. I can't help but think the universe loves to fuck with me. I guess I can visit your home at some point. Naruto didn't have much to say to that. I'm hungry, anyone want to get ramen before we get to the train? Naruto asked as he licked his lips, seeing a ramen stand a couple of blocks away. You enjoy ramen? Yudo slowed down and matched Naruto's pace. I'm a slut for ramen, Naruto deadpanned. I thought you were a slut for magic. Akeno used his own words, his joke, against him with a small giggle. Rias giggled at the joke, and she noticed that Naruto's face didn't change too much at the small teasing. Depends on the fetish and the magic. I have limits to what I will do for magic, despite what you seem to think, Naruto deadpanned. That got some laughs from the others. I understand, despite that there are certain things I absolutely love, I've got limits to what I will do for them. Outside of the universe. Well, shit, I didn't account for her being crazy, did you little guy? PPP asked as he looked at Sku, who just shrugged his shoulders in response. He just wanted to prank a version of himself that had been lucky enough to be raised by loving parents. Nowhere in his mind did he think that his mother was so insane that she would use her own body in order to do something drastic. She did experiment on her womb in your timeline too in order to birth you. Well shit, she is that crazy. Don't blame yourself for this one. Oh? It's a universal constant that goes across dimensions. Funny enough, if you had not turned Naruto into a trap, his parents would have died that day, Kushina would have continued an experiment she was working on, and both her and Minato would have died in a massive accidental explosion. Oh, so I delayed their deaths. PPP felt a little better. Wait, so you're saying that destiny itself doesn't want us having parents? Yep, the birth of a savior or destroyer is the destiny of all Narutos. Great personal loss is something that the universe demands from us. We can't have our parents, because then we lose our potential to become destroyers. We are always destined to destroy or save the world. I'm going back to my universe. Thanks for watching.